All right, you guys, we have a treat for you today. We're talking about product life cycles and product opportunities. This is the most important thing that has really moved the needle for me in all of my success, because if you get in the right opportunity at the right time, it makes everything a lot easier. And if you're going in the wrong one at the wrong time, well, it makes everything a lot harder. And you need to know where you are in every single cycle if you want to be successful. This is a roundtable discussion that Danny McMillan hosted. And there's 3 other Amazon sellers. I'm one of them. And it doesn't just apply to Amazon, though. While this is an Amazon-specific talk, this applies to every technology. It applies to basically everything where there's a market force. There's always cycles and new opportunities. So definitely pay attention. And if you're not in Amazon or not going to be selling on Amazon, definitely still valuable for you to know. Even if you're like an artist or something, there's always trends changing all the time, and you might have to change your work, or you might find a new opportunity to make your art differently, or whatever you're building. Definitely something important to take into account. And we're all successful entrepreneurs, and this is definitely something interesting, and I hope that you guys enjoy. We have added timestamps throughout the entire thing so you can see the questions, and then they're on the screen as well so you can know what we're talking about. So I hope you guys enjoy.
We're going to be talking about product cycles, like pre-cycles and post-cycles, and where you are with them. A lot of people get jammed up with a product, and when they look back on it historically, they only see the markers there of where it failed, and they held on for it too long to the death cycle. So what we want to talk about, there's 4 stages or more of a product cycle. And I want to talk about what we do is to avoid it. There's a prevention rather than the cure. We can talk about the tools that we use, how we identify products to get into. Someone like Brock specializes in taking a small window and then running with the ball and making it very successful. So what we want to look at is defense. We want to look at not getting into these products, and what you do to understand, to go and look in your Amazon account and see where you are in that product cycle, and whether it's time to dump these products as well, because we can hold on for so long. If you think about it psychologically, it takes a lot of time to get products out, and it's not always an enjoyable process. Is to find the product, get it launched, and keeping it alive, right? Or keeping it so it's profitable and ranked consistently, etc. But if you've got that stage where, it is dying off, you want to be able to recognize these signs and take analysis of it and go, right, I'm going to take my emotion out of this. And what I need to do is that's got to go. This is my strategy to moving that product on, how we liquidate, all those different kind of things. But let me just quickly introduce everyone. So Leran Hirschkorn has got to drop a family member to the hospital. So he has been delayed. He may not make it. So in his place, I brought in Anthony Lee. Anthony Lee, you may know, he's now just jumped over to another company. He was at Six Leaf. He's now at Helium 10 with Manny Coates and the rest of the guys over there. So Anthony pretty much don't need too much of an introduction, but he's seen hundreds of accounts, hundreds of products. He's very well known in the space for his abilities in and around understanding the A9 algorithm, ranking, and various different forms of marketing on Amazon. Then we got the man, the myth, the beard, the legend, Norman Ferrer. He's joined us today. Hey Norm, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yes, good. Again, Norman's worked with lots of 6, 7, 8-figure sellers and Fortune 500 companies such as Coca-Cola, etc., which he'll tell you a bit more in a little while. Then we've got Brock Johnson. Brock is well known in the space. He was the guy that done the Eclipse classes and made lots of money while everyone lost lots of money because they didn't get their shit together. So Brock is very specialized in areas such as working within a niche and working in short periods and time cycles. So it'd be good to get some insights from him today. So starting off, Anthony, do you want to give a bit more of an introduction and the background on yourself?
I mean, how could I beat the introduction that you gave?
Or you could tell the honest bits of it. I've just made up a load of stuff about you that I believe to be true.
I mean, yeah, I prefer your version. It's really nice, but
we can work with my version. That's good. Yeah.
So I know a little bit of stuff, really, I'm standing here in the shadow of these 2 other guests that are like titans in the space, and I'm honestly just here to listen to what they have to say.
Cool. Norm, do you want to give a little bit of background on yourself, please?
Sure. God, I'm the old guy in the game.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
He's back.
Yes.
There
Well,
he
I
is.
am using my phone. I don't know what's going on with the computer, but I'll use the phone until my Ian
Cool.
gets the rest of it figured out here. But hello.
Sounds good. Right, we're going to get Norm's just going to finish off his introduction. I've given an introduction for you, Brock, but I want you to give more of a background on yourself, and then we're going to get started. So, sorry, Norm, do you want to finish off?
Okay. Yeah, I started back in the 90s. Actually on old BBSs. My first website got up mid 90s for a Fortune 500 company. And then I got involved with manufacturing. So contract manufacturing, all sorts of different manufacturing in Canada, US, and in Taiwan with 2 factories. Opened up a sourcing company, opened up a specialty packaging company. At the end of the day, it's my Amazon perfect storm. So everything kind of came together and Amazon appeared and I just jumped in.
Excellent. So, Brock, now we've got you live. A few technical issues, but you're here, you're with us. Do you want to give a bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah. So, okay, you guys can hear me, right? We're good?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So I've been selling on Amazon since, I think, 2014 is when I got started selling. Was selling on eBay. Before that, I got banned about 6 times from eBay because they're very strict with their rules, and I was a college student. But yeah, started selling on Amazon, did retail arbitrage, and I left? No, that one left. Okay. Did retail arbitrage and was basically buying stuff from Walmart and just other places. And I'd actually go to thrift stores and like surplus stores from universities. And where I found out about Amazon was selling, like, I would buy these computers for my university and I would try to sell them on eBay, but I could sell them for like twice as much on Amazon. It's like, oh, hey, there's kind of something here. Then Radio Shack went out of business. So basically there'd be a couple of days where you could make money. So I went to all the Radio Shacks around the country because it took them 2 years to die, and made a couple $100,000 doing that and had success flipping. And then it's pretty cool, but I was tired of like one-time opportunities that I couldn't buy as much of. So then got into private label, built my first couple of products, but then hit the solar eclipse and then built a $6 million business in 6 months through that. And yeah, that's kind of my name to fame.
Excellent. So we're going to go into that. We can break that down in a little while. I've got a few questions I want to get started with. I think the main thing to address here is that people are going to want to know about getting into products and getting out of products. So let's just preface that I want to start with prevention rather than the cure. Let's talk, Norm. Can you give me a background on your take on when you're doing product research and you're looking at the life cycle of product, the trends and everything else? What do you look for and what are the kind of tools that you're using? And then I'll go around the room and ask the same question.
Well, the first thing that I'm looking for is if there's a market. So I'll check Google Trends, I'll check Amazon, I'll check, whatever I can. But most of the time what I'm doing is I'm checking competitive analysis. I'm going through, I'm seeing how many competitors are there. I'm seeing what their price point is. Can I improve on it? And one of the other things that probably the most important thing is there a market there? Is there search volume? Is there, some competitiveness to it? Or if there's not, can I improve on it? And what's it going to take to market the product to get people over to that Amazon listing?
Yeah, so, I mean, that if I can readdress the question, sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. This is like, rather than focus on like product research per se, we're going to focus on the element on when you're looking at the product, would you get in it based on not search volume or anything else, but looking at that product cycle? Where is it? Are you looking on Google Trends and you see it coming down? Therefore, that's a warning sign. Don't do it. Or other signs that you're looking for in order to validate whether you would get into that based on that life cycle of that product to where it is. Because, it's like you can go and try and hit a trend. It's okay if you're a year ahead of the trend, but if you're mid-cycle, by the time you, say, order the product, that trend's probably died a death and then you lose out on the sales. Does that make sense? So if you could address it from that side, that'd be amazing.
Sure. So hopefully I'm addressing it the proper way. So I'm looking at it as it's almost like the bell curve. So I'm looking at, who's the leader in the field and has the momentum started to grow. And if it's growing quickly, hey, I can probably take advantage of it. If it's going too quick, then I'm not worried about it coming down. If it comes down, I'm probably going to be out of it unless I can improve it. But if it's on the way up and it looks like there's lots of room for improvement and there's new people coming into the market, then I'll take a look at it, and I've got to see where the price point is. So if the price point, if I'm looking at my research tools and I'm finding that the regular price, let's say it's Dead Sea Mud, was at $59, and now the momentum is going crazy still, but the price is down, then what's going on? Like if it's selling at $24.99 and it was at $59.99, I've got a problem with that, and I've got to investigate it. And if I can change it, maybe put it in a smaller container, maybe increase the perceived value, that's one thing. But if it's $59.99 over a period of 2 or 3 months, I see it coming down to $29.99, I've got to question why.
Yeah,
and that's one of my biggest indicators.
Price. Yeah. That makes total sense. Same for you, Anthony. I know that you've only just got your feet wet over at the Helium 10, so congratulations on the move. Let's hit you up on the tools there from a data perspective. What would you see? What are you looking for?
Okay, so I know a lot of the traditional stuff that's taught is like, kind of the basics. If you're using Amazon, for example, as a platform to kind of validate the trends, which yes, it's absolutely important to do the Google Trends and like look in the world outside of Amazon. But Amazon's, I guess, your best barometer for the direction that things are going. And if you're looking at the Amazon data and some of the baseline stuff, of course, you're looking at the number of competitors and the number, I guess, of aggregate reviews, the velocity of those reviews, their BSR over time to see what seasonal changes are taking place, et cetera. All that is there. But me personally, I kind of like to, so I started this game in kind of like a hot niche, like a really popular niche. I was in the baby niche, which is always like, there's a lot going on there and there's a great amount of opportunity in niches like that. That's where you can kind of get onto trends and ride them. But unfortunately, they fall as hard as they raise. And, I'm sure these are issues that somebody like Norm doesn't have anymore because he has a lot of experience. But when I was first getting started, recognizing the signs of either a dying trend or a trend that's becoming so saturated by larger brands that you can't really, afford to compete was a problem that I had. So at this point in the game now, I'm much more attracted to completely unsexy, what I call necessary things. And so if I'm looking to stay away from a market, then I'm actually kind of gun shy if the numbers show that multiple listings for a particular type of product, for example, are doing 100,000+ a month. Because it just means that A, they dominate the space, and B, there's so much demand that all the other players in the game want to get in on the action. And I'm like, or I could be over here focusing on $5,000 a month products and just get like 100 of those and like completely stay under the radar.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily looking for like fast growth trajectory trends.
Yeah.
We're looking at something that has a history of stability, not a whole lot of fluctuation unless it's like newer listings, and because you'll see BSR go like this in the history of like a listing that maybe is only 4 or 5 months old because they're doing a lot of promos and stuff like that. But trying to look at some established players that are stable, and then maybe not as many competitors. And what that tells me is that means that the space isn't so attractive that like, the big dogs like Brock Johnson aren't trying to come in there and dominate, because I probably couldn't win against that anyway. Yeah. So I kind of play a little bit of a safer game. So I'm looking for a lot of stability and kind of like low to medium volume.
Yeah, that makes sense. Brock, can we bring you in? I know that you were doing some research. Do you think you called it the 4 stages of opportunity? If you're still there, mate.
Yeah, can you hear me on my desktop here?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great.
You've got a lot of research that you've been doing? I think you said you were doing some videos and stuff. So do you mind unloading some of that stuff on us to give us a bit of background in your take, especially in the pre-phase? Like we'll get on to the current products and when to march them out of building. But if you can talk about the actual stage, like before selecting the product, what are the danger signs that you see that would opt out of you going into that market or that product because of its cycle?
Okay, so yeah, I'm here now. You guys can hear the mic. We're good?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so with regards to, you want to just repeat, just summarize it again? So it's when you're in researching. Yeah.
So you're doing your research. So the idea of the whole this whole show is we're focusing on where can people identify to when to get out of products and even not go into them. So part of the conversation is that you're looking at products, you're a master at finding niches, go in, nail it, get out, right? But what should people look for to prevention rather than the cure, right? It's like, definitely don't touch that because that spike's there. And when you use that piece of software, you can see X, Y, and Z. I'll give an example. If I'm running some research tools and I'm looking on page 1 and all I'm seeing is this in all of the charts, we know the trajectory is going down in that market. Then you've got to look at where's the price differentiation. Is the price trashing the market and bring it down? You know, and you're looking for those kind of trends, whether they're on platform or off platform. So I just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, so I think there's two parts. So if you're in a market already and you have a product, I mean, I see very few times that you should really end a product personally. You got to think of it more from a product perspective is your entire company and like your 20-year trajectory. So if you're looking at that product specifically, like, is this a lead product? So, I mean, even if you're making a 2% ROI, I mean, this is as good as treasuries, annually. It does require some work, but if it is then building your customer list and then they're likely to buy other things, or, you got to think of what is the utility of making that product to your long-term brand. Like there's some things that you should probably sell because it's what your customers want. And it makes like, if you get free customers, why would you not take that, but like, I guess if they're just a trash customer that has nothing to do with your long-term vision and brand, then maybe you end it. Because it's like, okay, well, this opportunity is over for me. The margins are compressing and whatnot. But you guys also take into account. So in the beginning, there's not much demand and it's not that great of something to go into, but it starts to take off. That's where the profits start to, quite increase because there's a lot more demand than there are products. Then when you get to a point of saturation, that's when the margins are going to compress and that's where everybody wants to leave. And then guess what happens? Everybody leaves and the people that are left, profits actually go up then after that. Because everybody else just dipped out because they were wussies or they didn't match their long-term.
So what you're saying is that people follow by eye line, the trend, you should jump out. But what you're doing is you're waiting for all those to jump out because they've jumped ship. And then you stay and then collect after because people don't have the vision to see that.
I've made almost all of my money at the end, actually, where everybody has given up or not done it. Because people think it's, get in early, okay, get out. No, but then there's actually a backup after where all the supply gets flushed out of the market and there's still demand. So there's two parts to it. And that's actually where with a lot of I've actually made amazing amount of money on discontinued stuff. Or like when the Radio Shacks were going out of business and all this stuff, I made a bunch of money off antenna rotators they stopped making in 2004. And I bought and held all these for years and then remarketed them because there's still demand, but nobody's making them. So you got to take that all into account. It matters what your cash flow is like, what your long-term brand is,
Yeah. Cool. And what tools are you using to identify these, if you are?
Oh gosh, this is where it gets difficult with me because I can't explain all of my thinking always. I mean, I'm looking at Google Trends. I'm looking at sales data. I'm trying to track how many competitors there are over time. And essentially then also you got to think about the future. What technological thing is this? Was this a trend or is it a fidget spinner where it's kind of just a hot thing? Or is this a utility solving a real problem that will continue indefinitely or will get replaced by a new technology? Yeah. It matters if it's technological in nature or if it's you have to know what form and substance is this.
Just a quick one. So your microphone is crackling. I don't know if it's because you're moving. Can you just check your USB cable if it's a USB?
Yeah. Is it still crackling?
Yes, it is. When you're speaking, it's just breaking up.
I think it makes him sound cool.
Okay, is that fixed?
Perfect. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
that's right.
Let's see, where did I crackle? Did you guys hear what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just looking at that and understanding the product life cycle of really like, I mean, some things will sell forever,
Mhm.
you know, some things won't. Like,
Yeah.
I guess there's technically still fidget spinner selling, but kind of dead.
But where do you get that point? Like you can have the vision for, okay, I'm going to sit this out, but you're still banking on it going up. That's one thing. So that's a gamble, or that's a test of your character, whether you stay in or not. And then you've got to look at, well, where does my cash flow sit? How long can I sit and tie that money up for before the market breaks and allows me to earn a profit? So what have you seen in that sense?
Well, it's different if it's seasonal or if it's long. That's another thing. Like, is this a cyclical thing or is this something that is indefinite? And that's why I actually prefer to go with seasonal ones, because there is more of a variation in that. Because like basically everybody wants to go for the indefinite product that will sell forever because it's safe. Humans like safeness. Okay, it's certain. Like, and then everybody wants to do that, and then everybody competes to the ground. I like to go for maximum uncertainty because I am willing to do those forecasts and go for that. Well, with something with certainty, which I do also do, I prefer to go with the ones that are going to be really adding to that long-term value and giving me customers for free for life that I can then continue to serve for the rest of the time. If it's not cyclical and it's not providing to my brand long-term and margins are compressing, why are you doing that? Why are you sourcing that product? Like, why is that in your life? Maybe it's time to let go.
Cool. Before we move on, Norm, do you want to add any thoughts?
Yeah. Product versus brand. So
Cool.
That's the other thing that you have to take a look at is, is it a product that's starting to fail? So it's reached the top of the bell curve and now it's falling off. Or is it your brand? Is your brand just getting old? So if you're comparing your sales from last year to this year over your overall brand, and you're noticing that it's falling or it's not maintaining, it might be that you have to just go and rebrand. So your product cycle or your brand cycle might not be done, the life cycle of your brand, but you just have to refresh it. And what we found is that sometimes all you have to do is repackage or just put, greens and blues in, or oranges are big right now. And all of a sudden, you can pick up that sale, and it's a false read on your life cycle, and you'll see that your product cycle will start to pick up again. And that's another big indicator, of course, is when you're inputting into your reports, what are last year's sales compared to this year's sales? And so if you're doubling, tripling, that's great. If you're 10 times or 20 times or 30 times, I have to question, do I have to get out of the product right now? I'll take it as far as it's worth, or do I sell that part of, I deal with clients. So do I advise them that they might want to take a look at selling before their product starts to tank? Because it's almost like a candlestick, when you're looking at the stock market, it can only go so high before it starts to fall. Yeah. But I would really check product, brand, and trying to revise brand and see if anything happens to your product, to see if you can add a little bump to your sales that way. Just a thought.
Anything to add, Anthony?
Oh no, those are really good points, and that's exactly kind of my thinking of it too. Brand, like when you're going into a product, it really does depend on, is my strategy strictly cash flow, take advantage of the marketplace opportunity, or am I trying to build a little something with longevity? And the thing about it is, consumers are fickle, and it's like you can be very, very, very experienced and intelligent and go into this business and do really well. But there are aspects that even the best can't control. And one of them is the fickle nature of people and the trends that are involved. And this is not just even in products, but sometimes you'll accidentally have somebody on 99 Designs provide you with an awesome logo, and then your branding, just people love it. And like you could literally get into Garcinia Cambogia today and still make money if for some reason people just really gravitate towards your label. I've actually seen that happen. But you have no control over that. That's just one of those things. I mean, unless, you know, you have a huge design background and happen to also understand marketing psychology, which most private labelers don't. So, you know, in the face of that kind of thing, yeah, like what Norman was saying, like sometimes you just kind of gotta tweak the branding a little bit, and even that could make everything go up again, and it had nothing to do with the product. So it can be kind of hard to gauge that, but you know, I like the innovative processes that people like Brock take on, right? Like maximum security. The thing is your average private labeler does not have, not only do they not think that way, but they also don't really have a background to kind of safely move into something like that. So if we're looking at it from the perspective of you got a few $1,000s in the bank and you want to get into this thing, like how are you going to proceed? Chances are you're going to outsource your branding, right? And you're going to go on with like minimal branding because most people don't even really understand how to fully like launch a brand. And then they're looking at products and they're choosing based on what do they see in their world as something that they identify as being useful. And so if that's the average person's like baseline, right? How we can help them to make better decisions is first to be aware of the factors that you won't have control over, or the factors that you'd have to be at a much different level in order to control. And then my advice is, you know, like you can't really analyze it too long. You're going to learn a bunch of different strategies. You're going to also hear people say, don't worry about branding, or you should brand. Move forward with whatever your long-term vision is. Move forward with a product that your research process tells you could be viable, and just stay lean until you're big enough. Like if a product fails, I know that you want to talk about like prevention, but honestly, you could still sell fidget spinners and for no reason, explainable reason whatsoever, make a bunch of money. How? I don't know. The point is there's a certain level where you can't know if all of your preventative measures are doing anything other than just keeping you out of being in business in the first place. So my thinking is move forward and just stay lean. Build your brand slowly. As you learn more, you can add on to it. You can, like Norman said, like tweak the colors and make it more appealing to people as you learn more about what's going on. You learn more about your market. Like Brock was talking about, products that may not make you any money, but give you a bunch of free customers. You build kind of a catalog of those things. And as long as you stay lean and you don't go out and, oh, I need to get like 2 containers because I had a really great Q4, that's the best prevention, right? Just don't make emotional decisions based on short-term, results.
Cool. So let's get into the guts of it now. What are the markers? You've got a product. Like, let me set the scene for it. I've seen, and it's been quite common, I wouldn't say lots, but there's a bunch, should we say, where I've had clients in the past, etc., that have gone on this whole 4-hour work week thing. And so what they've done is they've put products into the market, mainly in T15 around that time. And then they've had a team in place and they've gone off and done other things, and they try to live religiously by this 4-hour work week thing. But what they didn't do is replace with refreshing their lines on newer products. And so what happens is they're looking at all different ways, all little hacks to get these going again, these products. But they're obviously, 1, need a refresh, 2, end of the cycle, and 3, they haven't started to invest in getting new products. So putting that in mind, there's still a lot of people out there that have got products from 15, which would never survive now. Let's be honest, in this current climate, to what you were getting away with there. So things have changed. What are the markers that people need to look at on their business to isolate and go, that is a failure, it's time to get out, before we get hooked up with a load of inventory that gets stuck on the boat coming over from China? Where would you go from there? What are your 5 markers, starting with Brock?
Can I just say something real quick? Like, I think Brock and Norm are probably going to have very excellent answers to that. But I just wanted to add to your point when you were talking about, people who don't expand their product lines.
Yeah.
And like if they had products from, 3-4 years ago, it wouldn't, work now.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one thing that I've seen, and I don't have an explanation for why this happens, but I've seen a lot of accounts. So I can tell you this is something that I've noticed a lot happen.
Yeah.
The people who have started out and became successful early and kept their small catalog, years later, almost all of them have found struggle because those products have hit a life cycle, like an end of a life cycle. But the people who constantly were putting out new products, their old products still sell. I don't know why that is, but that was something that was proven to me just time and time again. Like even if like seller A has similar products, but they never expanded their catalog, and all of a sudden those products are dead. Seller B is still selling those products, but they've constantly expanded. It might have to do with the size of the brand. Maybe Amazon puts, some favor in vendors that are bigger, but just know that that's an important part of the process. But
my opinion on that would be that those are the entrepreneurs and those were the wantrepreneurs. So the people who didn't make more products were the people who went and got rich quick, bought a bunch of reviews, probably didn't make that great of a product. I don't think it's an Amazon lift. I think it's a person problem, personally. Yeah. Like, why would you not make more products if you're an entrepreneur and it's working? Well, you got into it because you just wanted to make money and it made money and you gave up. Like that's my personal opinion. It doesn't apply to everyone, but I would say the people that kept building and growing were the ones that were wanting to build a business. The other ones wanted the passive income life, and that doesn't work.
Yeah. So you're in agreement as well. I've done a show on this with Michael Hartman a little while ago. It's debatable, this whole passive income thing. I think most of it, I believe there is passive paths in different businesses, right? And I don't think Amazon is one of them. It needs your attention. It needs a team, like not necessarily a team, but it needs to be worked on and nurtured on a daily, weekly basis rather than taking your foot off the gas, because it all stops unless you carry on putting products out.
I would agree with that. If you build something amazing, it can continue to sell forever. Yes. I would counter with that, but it matters about your positioning in that market as the market goes on. I'm a personal believer. You got to be the cheapest or the most expensive. You got to be either you got to be on the extreme somewhere. Yeah. Whenever you're in the middle is when you get stuck, because it's like, well, the middle, everybody goes for the middle. Yeah. Nobody wants to go for the top. I think
that's the Tim Ferriss thing, because he said, and I do the same thing. Like, I'd rather go extreme left and fail and fall on my ass, or have a home run. I'd rather go either way. I'm not saying that's my forte in terms of products, but in most things that I do, I'll go, what will everyone do? And what happens if I run left? And if I do run left, what is the impact? And, how long will it take me to recover if it drops off, or can I just park it? But I prefer to run left, if that makes sense, rather than run with a crowd. But that's I will fail, and I don't give a shit about failing. And that's the thing. And I think that's often in people's psyche as well. People are terrified to fail, thinking it's game over. It's not game over when you're still in the game. If you learn from something, it doesn't matter. You need to have manageable chunks where you can recover fast. What you need to do is build a wall around this failure to go, okay, I'm going to do this. And if I fall over, it's fine, because it's going to take me X time to recover from that, and I can move on to the next project. But you can use it as a learning milestone. So I'm going off questioning here. Brock, give me some 5 pointers so that the audience got some proper actionable stuff to take away. If they're looking at their Seller Central account, they're struggling with this product, they've tried every little hack, everything in the book. What are the markers when it's time to dump this product?
Okay, so like signs specifically, or markets specifically that I see at this exact moment?
Sorry, repeat that again, sorry.
Is it 5 markets that I see dead, or 5 things that you should look at to...
Oh, 5 markers. Sorry, 5 markers within the account. You're looking at the account. What are 5 isolated answers where you go, right, it's time to get out of this product?
Okay, so one would be that, well, I guess for me, I don't know if there is 5. It's okay. Is it beating the return on stocks? Okay. It does, like, basically
is it a danger to my company for a lawsuit or hurting someone? Okay, that's two. If those aren't present, okay, great. Well, is it going to hurt my brand long term because it's just a bad product? Like, it's not going to get me sued, but it just kind of sucks. Well, then I would probably end it. If it's good, but the market's just going down, well, then now you do a comparable look at it. Well, is this creating a better return than, I guess, whatever my cost of financing is or my other opportunity cost? Like if you're really strapped for cash flow, well, then I guess you can go and now say, okay, well, I know I want to build something better right now and I can do it. The only thing holding me back is cash. But if that one is still generating more ROI per year than is like the cost of financing, then you should still keep it and gather on financing, in my personal opinion, because you're getting paid to get free customers and you're getting better return than you would at a stock market. So that's kind of you just have to look at opportunity cost of financing. And basically, if like, as long as there's no negatives, it's not going to ruin your life. It's not going to ruin your business. It's not going to ruin your brand. And it's generating better than cost of financing stock market. You keep it.
Great answers. Norm?
Yeah, there's a few different things. One big indicator is if you've got your product and you try to relaunch it, and you relaunch it any old way you want, like, you know, if it's the rebate or whatever is the relaunch method of the day, and you're watching. I use helium-10, so it sticks for a couple of days and then it tanks, and I just can't get it to stick. So I'm doing normally what I would do with any relaunch, you know, and typically it would stick and I can control, you know, the ranking. If I can't control that, then that's my first indicator that something's up. Either I've got poor selling history, the inventory's gone out of stock a bunch of times, I've got a bad seller ASIN, or I've got a bad rating as a seller on Amazon. It could be a bunch of stuff. It could be a poor listing. One of the things you could do with that is you could try publishing it again as a different ASIN and seeing if you get the same results. But that's the very first thing I would do is if I'm doing a relaunch on a product and it's falling, and it happens a lot, then I got to look at it. The second thing is how many new competitors have come in. So, you know, has Amazing.com done a new course, and they've used something as like Dead Sea Mud, and all of a sudden everybody and his mother goes out for Dead Sea Mud. I got to take a look at that. Can I beat it? Profitability, absolutely. So what's happening with your competitor, with your suppliers? What type of pricing are you getting from your supplier? If your supplier if you can't make it, and I see this a lot, where the supplier, you don't realize this, and this is why going on sourcing trips is so important, but you might be 5 brokers deep and you can't compete with the new guys that are coming out on the marketplace. You've got to be able to access those other suppliers. If you can't, cut bait. You know, if you were making 30-40% and now you're down to 10% because you have to adjust your pricing because of these new competitors, that's something to look at. Other things, is the product outdated? So you can take a look at a simple bar of soap. Okay, is that bar of soap outdated? Are people going to liquid soap now? Okay, if that's the case, can I use hemp oil? Will hemp oil help add, you know, to the life cycle? If not, go into liquid soap and you can use the outdated product as a add-on. So you keep the product, like Brock was saying, you know, you don't have to get out of the product. You can keep the ASIN, you bundle it together, and you can use it for add-on. And you still get your sales, you still have your brand out there, and you don't have to cut bait. But personally, if I'm not getting the sales, I cut bait. And then let me see, cash flow. If you're getting into a competitive niche right now and you've got tons of competitors, if you don't have the cash flow to do it, get out. It's a cash flow business. And that's one of the main things. If you cannot finance your inventory, you know, you have to plan that out. And if you're seeing that you can't do it, get out. Training, you're absolutely 100%. Your training, your staff has to be on the training. If you might have a viable product, but you're using old techniques, old trainings. You don't understand, you know, the algorithm. You know, how are other people saying the algorithm's working? You know, title, subject matter, search terms, bullets. Maybe they're just doing title and bullets. There's things that you can, you know, spritz up to get it going again. But if you've got old training, hey, it's not your listing that suck, it's your employees. So you got to be on that. So those are some of the things that we look at when, we're going to make a decision whether we keep a product or not.
Yeah. Anthony.
I mean, those are amazing answers. So I'll just keep it really simple for like maybe the newer folks. If I think the biggest one is what Norman said. If you can't afford to keep it up, then like, even if it's if it's going to offer you a steady, 4 figures a month and the ROI is there, 5%, if you can't afford to continue to grow and keep up stock for that product, maybe because it's a really expensive product, for example, maybe you were able to sell it for a higher price before and then you had to lower it and your margins got thinner. If that kind of situation occurs, even if it's a staple product for your brand, like you have to consider cash flow. Because if you put yourself in a situation where you don't have any more money, it doesn't matter how well things are going. And we got to remember cash flow is a cycle too, right? Just because it sells doesn't mean you have it in hand to order a product from China tomorrow. Now, there are fancy ways you can get about that. But for somebody that doesn't know those fancy ways or somebody that's newer, it's better to keep in mind that you've got to have the cash flow to keep it up. And aside from that, I would say you have a product and you're getting hit with long-term storage fees and you're trying stuff and that's not going away. That's an indicator that you should at very least look closer into the situation. That's probably like the easiest, most lazy way of looking at it. Should I get rid of a product? Well, is it costing me a ton of money through Amazon to sell it? More than it should, more than my competitors. Maybe they're doing something better and I need to go somewhere else. So
I've got one that I'd like to share as well. And I've seen this happen a couple of times, but you need to have fairly decent margin with it. Is what people forget is that they try and liquidate their stock using PPC or they're trying to do giveaways, etc. But imagine going from 30, 40, 50 sales a day, but you've got good margin and then you spend nothing on PPC or anything and you just rely on organic sales that sit back in position 12, 13, 14, 15, and they're still doing sales. You've got a short cycle to your manufacturing. Literally, the only job you've got to do is every time you're doing a stock run, you're raising a PO to your factory and you're bolting it on, but it still makes 10, 15 grand a year and that pays for one of your VAs. That's one thing that people forget. They just assume that if I turn on PPC off, it's not going to work. Or if I stop try it. Find out what happens. You might go from 25, 30 sales a day, but go down, but it still may be worth your time. I'm talking of a smaller seller though. If it covers the cost of, like I said, a VA each year and it doesn't, and it's got a good return on investment, then I think that's an opportunity for people to try as well. So what I want to do is I want to throw in some user questions, attendee questions here. So
can I add one thing before we go to that?
Yes, please.
If it's making a good return and you have money in the stock market or a house, like my personal opinion is why would you invest in other businesses than in yourself? If you've got money in the stock market and it's generating 25% a year, it's just stupid. Why give it to Facebook or Amazon when you could build yourself and your business is my personal opinion. Risky. If you're 60, don't take that advice. But if you're young, you can make more risky. That I'm in a young position, so I take a lot of risk.
Cool. Right. So this question here, as I'm looking for seasonal products, my main problem with software research is that I get a snap at the revenues now, while my lead time is usually 40 to 50 days. I can't have any good analysis on evolution of revenues, demand, reviews, etc. What would be your take on a system for identifying seasonal products straight to Brock Johnson?
Seasonal products, how to identify them? Well, you look at the seasons. That's the first step. Okay. Yeah. Basically, there's kind of certain things. There is one, a lot of the times you're going to you need to get the data of that search volume. And actually, I believe that you need to look a year ahead of time to really play seasonal because you need to watch how it played out every day, take screenshots. I'm waiting for like a tool that allows it to be easier if I could go back and see like literally like images of like this is what I do internally, take images of the search results each day and like kind of like look at what the product recommendations are. And then I can like visualize and see how it went. And then I can go back and look at those sales history. So you kind of have to repaint it, but then you could see when things popped, when they didn't, and you can look at that market. And then it's, okay, well, we know the general products and things that work in seasonal. Okay. Well, now since then, what are the new trends or new consumer tastes that have developed since then? Now, if you can marry one of those new things with the old products, well, there's probably like 2 other people, maybe 2 in the world that did that. And they probably didn't buy too much because they're like, I'm not sure if this is going to work. So, I mean, that's kind of how I generally go about it. I mean, if you know an event is going to happen, if you know like Christmas is going to happen every year, all right? You like that's the only way that I identify seasonal things is like they're planned.
What's your take on brand analytics? Because you can get some data because you can look back over that 12-month period and start looking at Halloween and things like that. So you get an idea of those search terms within those periods. So you can go back to the whole month and then look to the week leading up, and you'll see different positioning in frequency. It won't give you search volume. But any of you guys got any thoughts on that? Anthony, I know that you're at a software company and you know, it's a different for you, but for someone like Norm, do you ever use that data? Or again, Brock, do you trust any of that data to use?
You guys have any opinions? I'll let you guys go.
Yeah, we have our own system that helps us, very similar to brand analytics. So yeah, I'm not a season. I don't buy seasonal products. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that do, but what I can tell you is that the information that's coming through brand analytics, I've used it a bunch of times, but again, what we have in house is something very similar. But yeah, if you can pull out and see exactly what search terms were, how they were performing 6 weeks or 8 weeks leading up to the holiday season, Halloween, whatever, definitely does give you an advantage. I would, if you got the information, this might be tougher to do, if you've got a year or 2 history to see if it's trending up or if it's plateaued, then you have a much better idea of market share. You know, if you're seeing that if it's plateaued, for example, on certain keywords, then you know that this is a steady product. Now, I don't know, Halloween pumpkin baskets. I think that's something that sells every year. Well, then that's a much safer bet. And then can you do anything to improve it? If not, and you're seeing that these pumpkin baskets are actually declining and there's a new pumpkin basket out in the market, then you can go over to that new pumpkin basket and see if you can get a supplier to work with on that. But that type of analysis, the older and further you can go back, the better it is, especially for a product cycle. You know, if you can go back 5 years and pull out information, even better. So doing keyword analytics on certain keywords over a period of time will definitely help you zone in on I believe a seasonal product. Again, I'm not a seasonal specialist.
Yeah. Anthony, is there any way that Helium 10 handles seasonality, or is it aggregated?
Okay. You put me on the spot. I know
learning. I did. I love to put you on the spot. You know that. Yeah.
These tools do so much stuff I didn't actually know that they did before. I'm still learning how everything works, but I believe I saw, although I can't honestly tell you where to find it in the suite, but I believe I saw that you can actually isolate periods in the past of BSR, which is like, if you isolate a period of time, you can see its movement, and that alone is a great indicator. Yeah. And then there's another piece of the tool where you can actually specifically look up the products that sold. Either look at a product and see when their best month was, or look up products whose best month is in, and that is a way that you can, like, if you look at best months in October, there's a good way to kind of sift through and isolate seasonal products. So there actually are a couple of different ways that you can use to do that.
But do you see how hard it is? That's why it's a good opportunity, because it's not easy to see. The easier it is to see how much money you can make, the less money you make. Yeah, it's a very clear thing. And if there's some form of risk involved, I don't know, it's not clear and it's risky. Humans are humans. So yeah, it takes harder work to do it. I like to look at the search volume. That gives you an idea, but you can't know what to make or where the holes were if you can't see the products that were through those search volumes. Because wow, there's search volume there, but there was 2 products. Yeah. Or was there 180?
Right.
Search volume alone is irrelevant. It is, what is the competitive force there? And what, like, did it actually get to where the last 7 days there was no options? Because you want to know what's great about seasonal? Everybody buys, humans are so risk averse that they buy too little. And when it gets to the end, you might even suck in the beginning, okay? But you're the only option at the end. So you win at the end because it's like, well, everybody else, the best option sold out. So you don't even need to be the best. If you want to rank in the beginning, guess what? There's like no sales. So you just put PPC to the moon and get a little bit and you ride the wave up as organic sales go. It's the easiest thing in my opinion. Because all of the forces that are like counter to human emotion are there. And it's just, yeah. I mean, like from an ROI perspective too, you get like this huge cash flow payday and you get a huge ROI and like, it's, yeah. I don't know, especially if you're selling small ones. Because if it doesn't sell, guess what? If it's small, send it back to your garage. Send it in next year. Don't like sell giant Halloween tables. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, makes sense. So if you're a brand building what you want to have more products in your portfolio rather than less. So shouldn't it be more about stock management rather than killing products that are moving slowly? Let me read that question again. If you're brand building, you want to have more products in your portfolio, rather than less. So shouldn't it be more about stock management rather than killing products that are slowly?
I think so. I have an opinion on this exact issue.
Go on then. Go for it.
I personally think that sometimes if you're building a brand, if your focus is to actually build a brand that hopefully will one day be recognizable, by people, by name. I think that it will become necessary for you to carry products just because those are the types of products people expect you to carry, even if they don't really make you a bunch of money. So in this particular respect, if you're building a brand and you're specifically trying to build out a catalog that makes sense for your audience with forward thinking in mind, right? Because you're probably looking at it like, well, this is the kind of thing that my audience buys, but they might not buy it on Amazon because if people aren't aware of this now, they should be. Amazon behavior is not always indicative of consumer behavior in general. So if you're building out an actual catalog, you might find some of those products don't make you a ton of money on Amazon, but that does not mean that you need to get rid of them. It means that you absolutely just need to better manage that stock. So that is correct in my opinion.
Sounds good. Cool. I'm going to move on to other questions here. Oh, sorry. Go.
Danny, I do have a comment on that.
Go for it.
So I had a client that had that exact issue. Okay. So one of the things that they wanted to do is be really well known, be very broad. Okay. And in this case, I can't tell the product, but it had to do with scents. So all different types of scents. So what they did is they put 72 different scents of this product on Amazon. Well, it sucked. Their cash flow, like they had to buy minimum quantities. They had it on Amazon. Some of their better products they put into FBA. The other ones they just did FBM. That I wouldn't recommend at all. They wanted to be, the main supplier of this product scent-wise, and it just didn't work. So what did work is take your your best-selling products, put it onto Amazon. Find out what those best-selling products would be, put it into FBA. But if you want to build that brand, on your inserts that you're sending out, send those 72 units. You can put it onto an e-commerce page, Shopify page, and you can build it out there. You can take all your external traffic and send it over so people can see you have 72 brands. You don't necessarily have to put the stock into it like you do on Amazon, and it could just show that you have a big brand. But on Amazon, it's a killer. I'd rather just have 4 or 5, top selling items there and let them know with an insert that you have this other brand. Your cash flow will be exhausted.
There's more to it than that for sure. Like what you're saying is absolutely correct. I should amend what I just said by also saying if you're going to carry stock that doesn't make you money on Amazon, have an external warehouse, right? Like don't incur long-term storage fees ever, ever, ever. You should never, ever 100% do not do that because that's just Amazon's way of extorting even further. Have another warehouse if you're going to keep a small amount of stock for products that aren't very profitable on Amazon. But yes, I still think that sometimes in that case it's necessary. But yeah, definitely don't send it all into Amazon. And that's the other thing. You got to know human psychology. For those of you who might not be aware of this, the average human being after 4 to 6 options shuts down. So do not ever have that many variations. Like that's a horrible idea. So you have to think intelligently.
Cool. All right, so I've got some more questions here. These are from email from Michael Schneider. So what are the best ways to extend the product life cycle? Anyone want to take this one?
I love this question.
Go on, Norm.
So,
you go.
All right, there's one thing that you can do that can definitely help out. Change the packaging. So if your product life cycle, I'm going to go back to Dead Sea Mud, $59.99, 16-ounce tub. All right. Take a look at it. How can you be different? Everybody's 16-ounce tub, $29.99, whatever the price is. Go to a 4-ounce 4-ounce metal container. Make it different. Make it look like it's a higher perceived value, and send it out for $24.99. And that's a real example, by the way. You find different ways of doing it. If it's a plastic shoe stretcher and they're selling and they're all red, make it green. Make something different. The main key to selling and continuing your life cycle on Amazon is every time you place an order, try to see what your negative and positive reviews are and try to make that product a little bit better. If you can leverage either the comments that are in the negative or the positive, or if you can see, something that's working for your competitor, do that. Just try to change it up a little bit. A lot of times it doesn't require a mold. It just requires it might be an ingredient that you add to soap. It might be hemp oil. So it's very easy to modify and keep the product cycle going. That's, the first thing that comes to mind.
Good answer. Anyone else?
I have a strategy actually, just to kind of give a different way to do it. Another way is you don't have to necessarily change too much about the product. Sometimes you just change your marketing. So like, let's say you sell colored pencils and like for some reason you're struggling with it after a while. Maybe your listing and all of your external marketing or your AMS ads or headline ads or whatever are kind of targeting a broader audience, or maybe it was just for adults who like to color. You can switch that up and make them colored pencils only for teachers and niche down, and that could work. Like that requires hitting different keywords that maybe you didn't think about hitting in PPC, or re-optimizing your listing to kind of change the direction or the target of the listing. So that also works. Take a look at who your product appeals to, and then test niching down and seeing if you can make it attractive to a smaller segment of the market.
Mm-hmm. Brock?
Well, I took 9 products and turned it into 102 listings. So, it's you market it differently, you package it. Okay. Well, I like bundles. I like seasonal bundles, because guess what? Everybody's buying different amounts of things in different ways, and they want different colors. Everybody is unique. So finding different ways to package, different ways to market. There's only 2 fundamental ways. You could change you could change form factor, but that's going to require a new product. You can change the things on your packaging. You can change your listing, or you can change like how you bundle them together. That's really all you can do. Or you can add some new form of technological innovation to it, which is actually the way that most people extend. If you actually look at like product life cycles throughout history, you have to add some new form of technological innovation. You can't change a market. You can only change add and hit a new market. But if you're just in that one vertical market, maybe the taste changed within that market, or you want to just fill that out. Essentially, as you're building your brand, you should be at every option, in my personal opinion, unless it's like just mathematically doesn't make any sense, or doesn't make any sense for your brand. You should
make sense.
Not be there then.
Cool. Next question again from Michael Schneider. At what point in the life cycle do you cut spend on ads, and how do you recognize that decline? Anthony.
I'm sorry. Repeat that question one more time.
At the point of the life cycle, at which point of the life cycle do you cut spend on ads, and how do you recognize that decline? See, there could be two things here that question answers. There's not necessarily a decline in the product. We can park that for one moment. But you could be in a launch cycle doing discovery, doing your PPC to work out which search terms work and which don't, and then empty out the ones that don't and only focus on the ones that do and then double down there. That's one way of answering the question. But I think this is more about the product dying in essence of you're spending money on ads. You used to have good data, but now it's poor or it's degrading. Now, one thing I would add here, the cost of PPC is going up consistently year on year, like a huge amount. We're seeing this across our data science teams and stuff. So what you do need to factor in, it may not be your product that's cliffing. It might be the natural evolution of sponsored product ads, etc., that are growing in cost that you need to factor in.
I agree with that. For my answer for the question, though, I would say, one of the tests I like to run, it's kind of extreme. And I know there's probably PPC experts out there listening that would be like, whoa, no, don't do that. But, if it's questionable, if your sales are declining and you're not really sure how PPC is helping and you've made some tweaks to PPC and you're not seeing the results you want, first and foremost, if you can afford him, you should hire, Danny's company. But
the cheap plug there. Go on.
If you're trying to figure out like whether or not you should put more money in the PPC or not, one of the tests I like to run is turn off PPC, period, and then see how that affects your sales. Because I've noticed that sometimes having those ads on are important for your sales, even if the ads aren't the things that actually brought the sales in. So you want to get a gauge first of essentially what your organic sales would be without any external marketing, including PPC. If sales continue to decline at that point to a measurable degree, then you can determine how important the PPC is. Then you slowly increase your budget to see if you can improve that number. And at some point, if your ACoS is so far beyond 100, 50, 60, or 100%, whatever the threshold is, where it's like no longer break even, at that point, it's just a math problem. Then you literally look at it and say, is PPC costing more money for me to try and, keep this product alive than is my ROI completely gone? And then you need to have that whole conversation about, is this product, like Brock was saying, like, is it harming people? Is it harming my brand? Like, is there any ROI there? But that's how I do it. I test.
Cool. Anyone want to jump in here? Got any feedback on that?
So specifically with PPC, right? When you should kill off PPC? Is that what the question is?
It was like, well, basically, let me go back to his question here and I'll read it word for word. It says, at what point in the life cycle do you cut ad spend on ads and how do you recognize that decline?
Yeah, well, I guess I just want to give my opinion on ads here.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are pissed when they make money on ads. Like, are you kidding me? You're getting paid to sell your products and get it into new people's hands, and you make money, which increases your organic sales. If you're complaining about that, like if we're talking about that situation, you never stop the ads. Even if you're breaking even, you never stop the ads, okay? Even if you're number one and you're breaking even on those sales, I still don't think you should stop the ads. You get more spots. Like that's my one opinion on that. Just because that was just my rant on that. Specifically, if it's not profitable, you're not trying to rank there. You're just like a mid selection. You're okay with that. There's ways you need to look at where are you actually converting. Kill off this. Like you shouldn't be advertising on the wrong words because that's just going to send bad signals to Amazon, increase your ACoS, and just not going to help.
Click-through rate, campaign history, loads of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have a good performing account. So find those keywords where you actually convert, optimize for that. And then what you want to do then is looking at those keywords, really dig down and say, okay, well, do I want to rank at the top? Well, then keep doing it. And you got to do some math behind it too. But, you can just find where you convert and then just lower bids and like set a 10K budget, but like with just a couple keywords and a very specific bid. So that way you're getting all the impressions on all the keywords. I like to go with very high budget, really low bid on things that convert, because then you're making sure that it's always showing you as an impression for something that you convert on. Whereas other people like to go really high bid on a lot and max budget, and then that's just not good data. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts.
Does anyone want to add any additionals before we go? Any final things, final thoughts?
Yeah, one thing on the PPC that you could give a try is run an external campaign. So run it to a funnel or whatever, and then drive it over to your listing, just on certain keywords, the ones that are failing on, not all of the campaigns, like not turning off PPC, but let's say that you've had you've noticed that your PPC has started to decline. So what you're doing is you're basically sending over some traffic, maybe some false traffic, maybe you're doing rebates or whatever. Now you've got the momentum going up and you've got the conversions going up. And if your PPC is still not clicking in at that point, then it's time. That would be an indicator for me that we have to do something with our PPC. And I'm like Brock, I don't turn off campaigns completely. I always keep them running, but I'll adjust them accordingly.
All right, guys, that's all we had today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I like to do more long-form conversation like that. So if you guys enjoyed that, let me know, and I'll do more of those. And then if you guys want to let me know what you thought about it, if you had any questions or different points, I like to talk. So I'll talk to you guys in the comments, and you can check out more videos on the playlist here, and in the description we'll have playlists as well. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and if you never come back and you don't subscribe, well, then I guess hope you have a good life.